Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 Origin Continent based on novel. So let's start. Rumor has it that beyond the 20th layer, there are more unique opportunities. However, there are only 4 who've occupied beyond the 20th layer of the infinite primordial space. The 21st layer by Infinite Snake Ancestor, the 22nd by Demon Ruins, the 26th by Starlight Lord, and the 27th by Shoju. Yuan is at the 19th layer. But it doesn't mean he is weaker than Infinite Snake Ancestor or Demon Ruins. Occupying each layer of the Abyss of Destruction favors the first occupier. Because for Yuan to occupy the 21st layer, he needs to face the joint blockade of Infinite Snake Ancestor and numerous world envoys having strength almost as strong as Infinite Snake Ancestor. Let's take it slowly. Luo Feng felt the siege of the surrounding black-haired envoys, familiarizing himself with the highest level power of destruction, power of shattering. The master of the destruction world, Primordial Beast Ancestor, watched from afar, quite envious. These cultivator lords, every one of them has mastered the primordial path. As for me, I rely more on my innate talent, born as an ancestor. Even if I grow to this point, I am unmatched in domain within the infinite primordial space. But I can't achieve undying and undying. My body itself is my domain, which makes my domain incredibly strong, but also confines me. Primordial Beast Ancestor, having lived too long, accumulated too much, understood his own shortcomings. I want to be undying and undying. I must break free from the constraints of the physical body, make my domain fully integrate into the infinite primordial space. At that time, I will be part of the infinite primordial space itself, and so, I can be undying and undying. As for now, having a tangible physical body presents the possibility of being destroyed. Previously, it experienced Luo Feng's Origin Great Destruction, and immediately got rid of the power of Luo Feng's Origin Great Destruction voluntarily. Despite that, both it and Black Tide Ancestor lost about 10% of their physical bodies. If one were to completely block that terrifying power, Primordial Beast Ancestor might be completely annihilated. Of course, it is not that foolish. Undying and undying, Primordial Beast Ancestor yearned, yet couldn't take that step. In a blink of an eye, more than one epoch passed. Primordial Beast Ancestor, no need to let world envoys continue the siege. I am also ready to move to the next layer. Luo Feng said. Lord Luo Feng. Primordial Beast Ancestor suddenly spoke. Do you think? How can my void body fully integrate into the infinite primordial space? Fully integrate. Luo Feng glanced at it, then said, to integrate, you must first understand it enough. You should carefully comprehend the infinite primordial space. If you can't comprehend the primordial space Tao, at least comprehend a kind of highest level space power. Comprehending a kind of space power. Primordial Beast Ancestor subconsciously gave up the idea of comprehending the primordial space Tao, as that isn't something an ancestor like it can aspire to. But comprehending a new highest level power is still overwhelmingly challenging. Thank you. Primordial Beast Ancestor expressed gratitude. Luo Feng smiled slightly, then moved on to the next layer. Among the Cultivator camp lords, there is different treatment for the innate primordial camp. Hostility is deep towards the main battle faction, while towards the anti-battle faction, the Cultivator camp is much friendlier. From the 9 emperors, Giant God Emperor Black Tide Ancestor, Primordial Beast Ancestor, are the leaders of the anti-battle faction. Previously, when 70+ ancestors couldn't retreat smoothly, making the entire camp likely to lose, only then did these 3 join forces. The Cultivator camp befriends the 3 of Giant God Emperor, hoping to reduce the number of main battle faction. Because when fighting, although the lords are fine, many world groups suffer heavy casualties. Mastering a highest level power is really not easy. Luo Feng secretly lamented. Back then, starting on the basis of mastering the primordial life and death Tao, he comprehended blood power, which took over 3 epochs. This time his primordial blade path is just in its infancy. Comprehending power of breaking is noticeably harder. Of course, it's still easier than comprehending a complete primordial blade path. His potential and comprehension, with accumulation in Tao, makes comprehending a single highest level power so difficult. Those ancestors usually grow through their life core, with innate talent generally grasping one highest level power, mastering a second. The difficulty naturally skyrockets. For example, within the Giant God Emperor clan, none can refine and control the Giant God realm. Within the Infinite Great Snake clan, only Infinite Snake Ancestor fully masters 2 highest level powers, while other ancestor level Infinite Great Serpents are significantly weaker. Luo Feng stays in each destruction world for 1 or 2 eras, familiarizing with the highest level power of destruction within that layer. In the 5th layer of destruction world, Luo Feng encountered Lotus Prison Mountain Master, who is hostile towards every cultivator lord, naturally deeply hostile to Luo Feng, completely unwilling to cooperate. Luo Feng could only make a move, asserting a stance of forcibly occupying the 5th layer of destruction world. Although Lotus Prison Mountain Master is skilled at resisting attacks, direct confrontation is weaker than Luo Feng himself, otherwise, he wouldn't be occupying only the 5th layer. With Luo Feng's assertive stance, Lotus Prison Mountain Master was forced to go all out and resort to cooperation, with 800 world envoys in joint siege. The battle soared amidst dim skies and dark earth. Luo Feng continued battling for more than 1 epoch, thoroughly researching the power of 800 world envoys, before proceeding to the 6th layer of destruction world. These cultivator lords, each is domineering. Lotus Prison Mountain Master felt dissatisfied, but powerless. The 7th layer of the Abyss of Destruction. Luo Feng finally arrived here. Brother Luo Feng. Wulan's booming laughter reverberated through the entire 7th layer world. I sense you stayed for 1 or 2 eras in each layer of destruction world. Are you comprehending the power of destruction? All other lords understood that after Luo Feng used power-breaking technique, he would definitely attempt a second primordial Tao. They also believed that given Luo Feng's speed in power-breaking technique, the second primordial Tao should not take too long. Comprehending the second Tao, I've hit a bottleneck. Luo Feng shook his head. So I came to the Abyss of Destruction to increase my accumulation. Whatever help you need, just ask. Wulan said. Could you, Brother Wulan, deploy all envoys of this layer to siege me? Luo Feng requested. All right. With a single thought, Wulan mobilized 600 world envoys. These 600 world envoys, each like a molten lava beast, extremely fierce, sieged Luo Feng, allowing him to encounter a new power of destruction, violent power. Violent power comprises 8 parts destruction path, 2 parts fire path. Luo Feng experienced it for more than 1 epoch, then let Wulan remove these envoys. Brother Wulan, I need to stay in this layer of destruction world for a while. Luo Feng said. Ha ha ha. Feel free to stay as long as you like. This avatar of mine usually sleeps. Wulan's laughter boomed, echoing within this layer of destruction world. With a single thought, Luo Feng transformed the land, soon forming a simple cave mansion. I won't disturb Brother Luo Feng. Wulan laughed, his massive body slowly sinking into the depths of the earth, into a state of slumber. Only to awaken upon the arrival of outsiders. Having experienced 7 power of destruction, all mysteries have been pondered, it needs to be well digested and absorbed, making them a part of my path. Luo Feng began to seclude himself within the cave mansion. In the blink of an eye, Luo Feng had been in seclusion on the seventh layer of the abyss of destruction for over 300 epochs. In a hidden location, within the territory of the innate primordial camp. A super-large radiant sphere was expanding repeatedly, with its terrifying pulsations affecting an ever-widening area. Surrounding some of the innate primordial races, fear seeped in the face of this dreadful energy fluctuation. What's going on? Has the infinite ancestor lost control? The 5 ancestors and thousands of world-level primordials under the infinite ancestor looked towards the true body of the infinite ancestor. Even when cultivating, the infinite ancestor did not conceal itself, existing in the form of an ultramassive radiant sphere. Its light illuminated creatures across an endless expanse. What is this? The 5 ancestors and thousands of world-level primordials who dared to gaze upon the true body of the infinite ancestor all saw black patterns appearing on the surface of the ultramassive radiant sphere. The radiant sphere, originally filled with endless light, began to be covered by black patterns. These black patterns twisted, resembling numerous evil and ugly black snakes. When seen, these black snakes would infiltrate the viewer's heart, naturally permeating the entire body and penetrating the soul. Thousands of world-level primordials hopelessly discovered that a terrifying pollution was corroding and drowning them. During the years following the infinite ancestor, they had become accustomed to watching the true body of the infinite ancestor. In the past, the pollution of the true body of the infinite ancestor was very low and had no effect on world-level primordials. Do not gaze. Do not gaze upon the true body of the infinite ancestor. Those 5 ancestors urgently ordered, as they were not afraid of pollution, and could even clearly see that those ugly and evil black patterns were actually exceedingly intricate black secret patterns. However, the profoundness contained was too deep. Merely looking closely at it would severely pollute the world-level primordials. These thousands of world-level primordials are heavily polluted. Let them see for themselves. If they can resist the pollution, they will survive. If not, they will die. These 5 ancestors did not care about these world-level primordials. Instead, they watched anxiously as the ultramassive radiant sphere at the moment. The ultramassive radiant sphere, with countless black patterns coiling, became ferocious and terrifying. Its power was far more terrifying than before. What on earth is happening with the infinite ancestor? The pollution of its true body has never been this terrifying. The 5 ancestors were puzzled. The true body of an ancestor always possessed pollution, but to make it difficult for world-level primordials to gaze upon was very rare. Suddenly, the ultramassive radiant sphere rapidly expanded, in an instant transforming into an incredibly dazzling light, utterly destroying and affecting the vast surrounding territory. Fortunately, the earlier commotion had ensured no creatures dared remain nearby. This pulsation, with extensive reach, felt slightly uncomfortable even to the 5 watching ancestors. The pulsation continued to spread, crossing vast space-time, causing even some distant high-level primordial life forms to shatter and die instantly upon contact. As for the low-level primordial life, they were directly annihilated into energy. This terrifying power could even match 7 or 8/10 of that of Lord Luo Feng's self-detonation. These 5 ancestors were quite astonished, although the infinite ancestor was always among the top 3 of the innate primordial 9 emperors. It had never been this powerful. Ha ha ha. Accompanied by laughter, another radiant sphere appeared, emitting pulsations on its surface. I tried exploding myself once, yet sadly after the explosion, I could only recover less than 1/10 of my body. Much less recovery than Lord Luo Feng. Infinite, you can self-detonate? The 5 ancestors could not believe it. Ancestors have a vital life core, and generally dare not perform self-detonating techniques. I must thank Lord Luo Feng, making my endless light advance further. Henceforth my life core has also turned into endless light, truly reaching undying and undying status. Ha ha ha, Ha 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 ha, the infinite ancestor was too delighted, its laughter thundered, resonating across the infinitely vast space. It did not care at all, because it tried to perform a self-detonating technique, affecting countless weak innate primordial life forms. Undying and undying. The 5 ancestors exclaimed in amazement and joy upon hearing it. Congratulations, infinite brother. All 5 were filled with joy and envy, for before this, only 4 ancestors in the entire innate primordial camp had reached the undying and undying level, and now the infinite ancestor also reached this stage. Infinite brother, what do you plan to do next? One of the ancestors asked. Naturally, I will prove my power to the infinite primordial space to secure a seat in the land of eternity. The voice of the massive radiant sphere resounded mightily. In the Cultivator camp, as long as a lord emerges, they naturally gain a seat in the land of eternity. However, those ancestors are different, as most of them have no seat, even after a breakthrough. They must prove their strength to the outside world, only then they are recognized. The simplest way to prove strength is to penetrate deeper layers of the destruction world. The massive radiant sphere brimmed with fighting spirit. The infinite ancestor originally occupied the 14th layer of the abyss of destruction. In fact, its power was comparable to that of Lord Moman, being able to occupy a deeper layer purely due to the advantage of initial occupation. After a breakthrough in strength, the infinite ancestor began to delve deeper. The 15th layer was its old friend, the silent extinction ancestor, which it did not challenge. The occupier of the 16th layer was Mogus. The infinite ancestor, in a mad frenzy, forced Mogus to mobilize all the world envoys to fight it together. The current infinite ancestor was illuminated by endless light and exuded a terrifying aura. With its own power, it completely suppressed Mogus and all the world envoys combined, forcing its way to where the shadow of origin resided. However, it did not leave a life imprint, but instead laughed and continued to the next layer. The 17th layer was occupied by the Feather Emperor. The Feather Emperor also mastered 2 types of highest level power, one being a light power, the other feather power. It could also be omnipresent, its movement technique not inferior to the infinite ancestors. Moreover, the Feather Emperor had the Feather Realm's support, and carried all the world envoys to join forces. In a great battle, the Feather Emperor was very aggressive in frontal combat, firmly blocking the infinite ancestor. I only suppressed it with the help of the world envoys. If it were one-on-one, I would be at a disadvantage, the Feather Emperor realized. Its endless light is much stronger than before. The 18th layer was occupied by Kafue. The infinite ancestor fought with Kafue. Kafue was powerful in close combat, and also had the assistance of all the world envoys. But Kafue's movement technique was much weaker. The infinite ancestor restrained Kafue with part of its power, repelled all the world envoys, and forcibly left a mark on the shadow of origin, successfully occupying the 18th layer. The infinite ancestor had already realized that it hadn't taken the 17th layer, and had only barely managed to capture the 18th layer by means of restraint. The 19th layer was the impeccable Yuan, and each subsequent layer was more difficult. Its hopes of occupying them were slim. I actually lost. Kafue felt rather frustrated. He had nothing to say. Even with the help of the world envoys, he lost. What could he argue? One could only say that the infinite ancestor was too restraining for him. The endless power and light power contained within the infinite ancestor combined to form endless light, which wasn't very strong in the past, but its power was now significantly improved. Under its restraint, Kafue couldn't break through the layers of light in a short time, and watched it defeat the world envoys and occupy the shadow of origin. 19th layer. The infinite ancestor fought against Yuan. The primordial rules of Yuan operated, making the entire layer of the destruction world seem like a hole, which the infinite ancestor couldn't break through. There was no need to mobilize the world envoys. It easily stopped the infinite. The infinite ancestor is stronger than before, Yuan said solemnly, watching the infinite ancestor move to the next layer. Its endless light's power is even more terrifying, and its life core is now integrated into the light, leaving no flaws. If there were a life core entity in Yuan's formation, it would not escape detection. From the 20th layer onward, the infinite ancestor tried one by one and failed each time. But it could be confirmed that its strength was now on par with the infinite snake ancestor, Yuan, and demon ruins, only because it was a newcomer that it only managed to occupy the 18th layer of the destruction world. The infinite ancestor has broken through, reaching the state of undying and immortal, and has occupied the 18th layer of the abyss of destruction. Luo Feng was somewhat surprised upon receiving the news during his closed-door cultivation. In the war between the two camps, the innate primordial camp, having consumed the source world origin of hundreds of world groups, had also produced several ancestors. However, the cultivator camp did not care about these ordinary ancestors, but the birth of an undying and immortal being was of great importance to the Eight Lords. Infinite ancestors' power had already reached the level of Yuan. The innate primordial camp's strength has increased significantly again. Luo Feng felt the pressure, as the entire infinite primordial space had an inherent opposition between his camp and the innate primordial camp. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. The land of eternity welcomed its 30th member, Infinite Ancestor. On Infinite Ancestor's first arrival in the land of eternity, all 29 other members manifested their avatars. Last time it was Lord Luo Feng, this time it's the Infinite Ancestor. War indeed breeds strong ones more easily, said the demon ruins. In the war between the two camps, although some ancestors have died, two undying and immortal beings have emerged. The infinite snake ancestor spoke leisurely, feeling quite pleased, as it very much welcomed the infinite ancestor's breakthrough. The birth of the infinite ancestor had significantly heightened the deterrence of the entire innate primordial camp, and since the infinite ancestor had no tribe, there was no need to compete for ordinary tribal resources. Lord Luo Feng, the infinite ancestor, took the initiative to speak. Luo Feng looked at it. I was able to take this step and reach the undying and immortal state, all thanks to you. The infinite ancestor's voice was grand. It was your self-detonation technique that gave me the impetus for my transformation, allowing my endless light to undergo a qualitative change. Luo Feng sat there, calmly saying, no need to thank me, it was because your accumulations were deep enough. After the gathering ended, Luo Feng dissipated to continue his closed-door cultivation. Even the celebration subsequently held by the infinite ancestor, Luo Feng did not attend. The cultivator camp's side sent avatars of Yuan, Jin, and Mo Man to participate. Luo Feng's absence made the infinite ancestor, at the celebration, feel quite a bit of regret. Luo Feng was solely focused on his closed-door cultivation, which had continued for over 500 epochs. Originally, his primordial blade path already had a complete framework, a rudimentary form, and more than 90% of it had been comprehended. Coming to the abyss of destruction, he meticulously studied 7 highest-level powers of destruction, further enriching his accumulations. The 7th layer of destruction world. In the cave mansion, Luo Feng suddenly opened his eyes, which contained a terrifying sharpness, belonging to the highest level power of the destruction path. I finally comprehended it. Luo Feng felt rejoiced in his heart. Although there was still some distance to a complete primordial blade path, he had finally comprehended one of the highest level powers, the power of breaking. The pursuit of destruction's power of breaking would greatly compensate for his shortcomings. Luo Feng wore a black robe, draped with a blood-colored cloak, sitting cross-legged there, yet his aura was completely different. In the past, Luo Feng's aura was heavy and vast, heavier than a source world. Even those ancient ancestors felt a headache when they saw it, knowing that even dozens of ancestors besieging would have difficulty destroying Luo Feng's body, as it ranked among the top in the infinite primordial space in terms of defense capability. But many ancestors were not afraid of such strong defense capabilities. There were 30 undying and undying. What would strong defense count for then? What ancestors feared were those strong in slaughter. And Luo Feng had only one move, Origin Great Destruction, purely relying on the self-explosion move backed by sufficient energy reserves that all sides were wary of, but ancestors were not fools. Having witnessed it once, they naturally would prepare for it. My primordial life and death Tao, after all, is primarily centered on life. Although there are some means in the aspect of destruction, there is an essential gap to the highest level power. Luo Feng thought. The highest level power represents qualitative change. Just like the blood power of the blood crane territory, compared to Luo Feng's primordial life and death Tao, it is inferior in various aspects. But that is compared to Luo Feng. Compared to many ancestors, energy reserves, life force, and recovery power, etc., are already terrifying. This power of breaking, compared to the primordial blade path I pursue, certainly has many deficiencies. But after all, it is the highest level of destruction power. Completely changing my destructive side qualitatively. Luo Feng revealed a smile. Relying solely on power of breaking, compared to Jin, Ming Huang, and Mo Man, naturally, it is somewhat inferior. But when the primordial life and death Tao, and power of breaking combine, that's different. My life form is nearly 100 times stronger than Jin and Mo Man. Any random move of explosive energy from me can match them burning their main fighting avatar. Under the terrifying energy maneuvering the power of breaking, what level of power can it reach? Luo Feng wasn't sure how strong he was now. Ancestor, who mastered 2 highest level powers, generally could rival a lord. If combined perfectly enough, with the mysterious land's blessing, some special opportunities, one might even surpass a lord. Ancestors like the Ice Mountain Ancestor, Infinite Snake Ancestor, Kafu, Demon Ruins, etc., fall into this category. The Infinite Snake Ancestors have a combination of 2 different highest level powers. And I have a primordial level Tao and a highest level power. It should be stronger than them. Luo Feng had a vague understanding. He believed he could surpass all other opponents. Only 2. Starlight and Shoju. Luo Feng had no certainty. But undoubtedly, with the highest level of a destruction root power, after thoroughly mending the flaws and combining it with the life direction, there will naturally be qualitative change. Luo Feng's techniques were no longer just substantial to satisfy, but, on the foundation of being substantial, every bit of power was extremely profound and contained the highest level of destructive mysteries. His tilde tilde tilde, Luo Feng's aura also contained part of the destruction essence. This is not yet my strongest state. If I master the primordial blade path, it will be stronger than now. After realizing the power of breaking, Luo Feng then understood what his biggest bottleneck was to create a complete primordial blade path. To realize the primordial blade path, my biggest obstacle must be my inner self. Luo Feng thought. Any lord, the path they are best at, aligns most closely with their true heart. And the second path, the alignment with one's true heart greatly diminishes. Just like Luo Feng, seeing Jin's created legacy, he disliked the spiritual power contained within the legacy. Destroy the heavens and the earth, for one's strength can destroy everything. Luo Feng couldn't accept. My inner self must align adequately with the direction of destruction to create a primordial blade path mainly of destruction. Luo Feng's heart was like a blade, capable of cutting through all obstacles. Through endless honing in the bygone eras, the heart was like a blade, growing sharper. But this heart of cutting was only barely capable of realizing the highest level of power of breaking, but far from enough to comprehend the complete primordial blade path. When I accumulated adequately, I found the biggest flaw was the inner self. Heart and Tao harmony, only then can one create the Tao. Luo Feng pondered. First, accumulate. The more adequate the accumulation, the better. Luo Feng's path of cultivation was always this way, with preparations in every aspect so abundant, the road then became smoother. Buzz tilde 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 tilde. With Luo Feng's thought, this cave mansion naturally dissolved, energy returned to this destruction world. Brother Wulan, I will continue exploring the next layer. Luo Feng said. Congratulations, Brother Luo Feng. When Luo Feng just broke through, the invisible fluctuation already disturbed the owner of this destruction world Wulan. Thinking Luo Feng gained some insight in cultivation, Wulan didn't believe Luo Feng created a second Tao. Creating a second primordial level Tao, such a major event, is not only Luo Feng's big event, but also a major event for the entire cultivator camp. It definitely needs to be communicated to other lords. Abyss of Destruction, this mysterious land, named for destruction, is revered as the holy land in the minds of many ancestors in the entire infinite primordial space. Being able to have a seat in the land of eternity signifies undying and undying. Being able to occupy a layer in the abyss of destruction signifies a strength ranking in the top 30. It's important to know that even well-known existences like the Lotus Prison Mountain Master and the Primordial Beast Emperor are only in the top 5 layers. These two holy lands represent survival ability and combat ability respectively. The 8th layer. Luo Feng traversed the barriers of time and space and entered the 8th layer of the Abyss of Destruction. This 8th layer was shrouded in mist, and a towering black figure emerged from the ground. His body was covered in black scale armor, and a solitary eye blazed with blood-red flames as he coldly stared at Luo Feng. Lord Luo Feng, have you come here to seize this layer of the destruction world? Wugu ancestor. Luo Feng looked at the other. This black towering figure was indeed one of the top 5 among the 12 undying and undying existences of the Ice Peak camp, the Wugu ancestor. I'm sure you sensed it. I've delved continuously from the first layer of the destruction world, spending several eras on each layer, Luo Feng said. I'm exploring the abyss of destruction to hone my own cultivation. I won't seize this layer of the destruction world from you. Do you think I'd believe that? Wugu ancestor angrily retorted, your cultivator lords have seized from me more than once. This is the 8th layer, with Lord Nai Jiyu on the 9th layer, Ming Huang, Jin, and Mo Man on the 11th to 13th layers respectively. Wugu was of the same era as Yuan. But later, he was surpassed one by the cultivator lords, each of whom caused Wugu much headache, making him appear rather clumsy. I can promise not to seize this layer of the destruction world. I only ask one requirement: arrange all the world envoys to besiege me, just for 1 or 2 eras. Luo Feng said. To aid your cultivation. Wugu ancestor lightly shook his head, you wish. Even without seizing, Wugu ancestor didn't want to cooperate. Previously, the Ice Peak camp invaded the cultivator territory, and it was the Wugu ancestor who invaded the most. At that time, Wugu ancestor's true body was stationed in the occupied territory. But all the hard-earned gains had to be returned. To have the things he seized returned. Wugu ancestor was really unhappy about it. Being undying and undying, when had he ever endured such humiliation? But at that time, the entire Ice Peak camp decided together, so he couldn't go against it. But at this moment, I can't possibly cooperate with you. Just get out of here, go to the next layer. Wugu ancestor coldly sneered. Not cooperating. Luo Feng's face turned cold, then I can only force you to cooperate. Force me to cooperate. Ha ha ha. If I don't want to, you can't even touch a world envoy. Wugu ancestor coldly sneered, enough, quickly get out of this layer of the destruction world. At a mere thought, billowing dark clouds rolled over, vast and mighty. The endless dark clouds instantly engulfed Luo Feng, and in these clouds was the added power of the world of this layer of the destruction world. This power could be concentrated into hundreds of envoys, or used to enhance oneself. Concentrating into world envoys was, after all, the best way to maximize combat power. After all, the power of destruction contained in this layer of the world was not what Wugu ancestor excelled at. Get out. Wugu ancestor already possessed combat strength at an average lord level, slightly inferior in fighting ability, but quite powerful in the domain aspect. His life core could be integrated into his power and appear in any avatar. That's why he dared to station his true body in the occupied territory alone at the time. At that thought alone, the life core integrated from an infinitely distant place into this avatar, naturally making this avatar a true body. With the continuous supply of destruction world power, it quickly rose to the strongest state. Even enhanced by the power of destruction world, it became 3 times stronger than the true body in its normal state. Boom tilde tilde tilde, boundless dark clouds crushed towards Luo Feng, trying to force him out. These clouds were extremely heavy, with a terrifying sense of oppression. Get out, Wugu ancestor was rather disdainful, wanting him to cooperate for cultivation. This cultivator lord was truly dreaming. Suddenly, a cold blade light shimmered. This blade light instantly pierced through the layers of dark clouds, even touching Wugu ancestor's body. Wugu ancestor only felt a terrifying force instantly slashing through his body, as if his body willingly split apart. Split apart. Wugu ancestor was shocked and angry, turning his head to look. That blade light, wrapped around a figure, had already slashed into the depths of this layer of the destruction world, heading straight for the core shadow of origin. Not good. Wugu ancestor was shocked and angry. His speed was far less than that of Luo Feng at this moment. The power of destruction world that was originally enhanced on his body quickly dissipated, rapidly forming as many as 550 world envoys. Stop him. Wugu ancestor hurriedly ordered with a thought. This group of world envoys joining forces was only slightly inferior to him. As long as they could stall Luo Feng for a while, he would be able to join forces with the world envoys. World envoys, acting on orders, tried their best to block. Whoosh! The blade light was sharp, fleeting. It sliced over 300 world envoys in half with one slash. Almost unhindered, the blade light had already reached the place where the shadow of origin was. Wugu ancestor hadn't even had time to catch up, but he felt he had lost control of this layer of the destruction world. Wugu, you're no longer needed, get lost. Luo Feng appeared on the surface, his blood-red robe fluttering, coldly looking at him. How is this possible? This is impossible. Wugu ancestor couldn't understand how under the world's power enhancement, not even for an instant could he intercept. This Luo Feng had never displayed such terrifying strength during the battles between the two camps. This video will end here.